Are you ready? Can crush us. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock 'em out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Gotta shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody, power driving, hit 'em with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break 'em, let's go. Yeah, Can Crushers. Yeah, Can Crushers. Let's go.
Hey, y'all, this is Sam Houston. I got to tell you, if you want to know the latest in wrestling and what's going on, tune into Can Crushers every time it comes on. I know I will. Later, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast, the Spotlight Edition. I am your host, Mark the Mark Martinez, and this is going to be, I don't know, maybe satanic, maybe bloody, maybe, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't. But it's going to be with the Miasma, the Doombringer, the Bloody Hand. You're going back and saying, what the fuck is the Miasma? Look it up. It is Zakk Ramses coming on, and we're going to talk all things wrestling in his form, in what he's doing, in what he's been doing for 4 years in the business. This guy is 6'13" and a half. He's a big MFer. Let me tell you that. He has been laying waste all around. 4 years in, knocked off all 50 states. FU, taken care of. Yes, that's it. Goodbye. Run amok up and down the East Coast. Doing crazy ass shit. Have you looked up what the miasma means yet? No? Well, you'll have time to find out. Because before we get into the interview with Zakk, we have to tell you all about the cool things at Collar and Elbow. You guys know how it works. Hats, hoodies, tees, all the sweet stuff that Al Snow and his hooligans have at Collar and Elbow. Guys go in, new shirts are getting pumped out. It seems like every week anymore. Hey, Mark, look at this new shirt. Hey, look at this new shirt. Should we do this? Now, they're not asking me if they should do these. They're just sending me all this stuff, saying, look at this stuff, look at this stuff, look at this stuff. Pump it out, pump it out, pump it out. And I'm pumping it out. Slow your roll, Al. I'm pumping it out as fast as I can. So go buy some stuff. Buy a lot of stuff. Because we have a promo code, and it's Can Crushers. Oh my God, it's Can Crushers. Capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. All one word, and you'll save 10% on your entire order. That's pretty freaking awesome within itself. So yeah, do that. It'll support Collar and Elbow, and it'll help support us, which is awesome. Where can you hear us? Wherever you're listening to right now, and any other podcasting host site out there. iTunes, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Google Play, you know them all, Stitcher. Listen, like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Leave some ratings, please. It really helps us grow as we continue. It's just like, hey, you like an independent wrestler, you go and like their page. It makes their algorithm get a little bit bigger. It does it with podcasts, too. I asked all my guests, like our pages, we like yours, we do this, we do that. Yeah, that's cool. It's a big-ass algorithm, and it works. It keeps everybody relevant, and it's fun, because you get to learn more about them. So that's awesome within itself. You want to be on the show? You're a friend or a hated opponent of Zakk Ramses, and you want to come on the show and talk about stuff that Zakk's not going to talk about, or that I'm not going to make Zakk talk about, or whatever, slide into one of our DMs or send us an email at cancrusher69@gmail.com. I'd love to have you on. We love to hear your stories about wrestling within itself. Yeah. All right, here comes Al to tell you more about Collar and Elbow. We come back, we're going to have the Miasma. Have you figured it out yet? No? Well, that's going to be the first thing we talk to Zakk about. What the fuck is the Miasma? Here comes Al.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
I'm Marvelous Matt Bish. I don't know how you stumbled upon this podcast. Must be some dumb luck. Maybe you hit a wrong button. But here we are. You're watching the Can Crushers podcast. And you know what? Tell those morons that I sent you, and maybe they'll treat you a little better. See ya.
And welcome back to Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Guys, I told you during the intro, I'm really excited, scared, weirded out maybe of my guest this week. Zakk Ramses, the Miasma, the Doombringer, the Bloody Hand. Listen, Zakk, first and foremost, welcome to the show. My clientele, my fan base, isn't that smart. What in the fuck do you mean by the Miasma?
Well, first of all, before I answer that, you're right to be weirded out and intimidated by calling me. So
Right.
you're moving in the right direction. Smart man. So that said, the miasma is
You stink.
the
You're an odor.
well, that is a definition of a miasma. However, the miasma in question here is it's a dark, overwhelming force that the more you fight against it, the worse it's going to get. And it's a Greek term that in its current utilization, yes, it's usually referred to as an odor that spreads and consumes. But it's in the past, it was used to represent some type of epidemic, typically a plague. You know, the Black Plague was a miasma at its time. And one could say we just got out of a miasma with COVID. And so you're winning right now when you're talking to Zakk Ramses. And more importantly, when you're in the ring with Zakk Ramses, you are lost in a miasma where you can throw every punch you want, any super kick you can, but at the end of the day, it's just going to get worse and you're done for. So that's the short answer.
Good, because we're going to get the long answer, because I love all of this. I am a big man wrestler, and that sounds like I'm hitting on you already, but who gives a shit? We'll get there. We like doing the whole way back from the beginning. Who the hell introduced you to professional wrestling? Mom, Dad, Aunt Sally, Uncle Joe? We got to know this.
So for me, my introduction to professional wrestling proper probably would have been through my television in my living room. I really think the first time I really watched wrestling, I would have been probably first or second grade, flipping channels and landing on Thursday Night SmackDown back in the day. That was my earliest memory of wrestling. My uncle, however, he was always a wrestling fan. He still is to this day. But it's not so much like I sat down and watched wrestling with him. He was a very big fan of the Hulkamania era and all that. So, yeah, when we would go over to my grandma's house where he also lived, he had his Hogan collection,
the
of
LJN figures,
and
right?
PWI insiders, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so much that he introduced me to it. I kind of found my way in, and then in mid to late elementary school time, one of my best friends, he really caught the bug, and he was kind of like, hey, I know you used to kind of watch it sometimes. I'm kind of getting into this more now. And then we really fell into love with it, and it has been a marriage ever since then, where until death do us part. It's wrestling is my life now. So
yeah, once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. Like
Oh, yeah.
you are that part. You're the talent. We are the nerds behind the curtain. We are the nerds, on the mic. That is my part. Would I want to be in the ring with you? No way in hell.
a smart man wouldn't.
Right. So I'm smart enough. I'm good enough there.
Yes. You're a step ahead of a lot of people.
Right. Some of your favorites growing up then. I have to imagine, and this is just via gimmick and character and everything.
Yeah.
You know, The Undertaker, you're a big man. You might not have been
Yes.
a huge man then, but listen, you transcend to The Undertaker a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I mean, yeah. I don't know many people that grew up a wrestling fan or a WWE fan, if really any time in the last 30 years, but specifically if you were a fan from the late 90s to the early 2010s. I don't know how you couldn't have been a fan of The Undertaker. I can understand you not being a fan of The Undertaker if you started watching wrestling in the mid 2010s because people don't say it, but The Undertaker should have retired at WrestleMania 30, and everything he did after that point I thought was awful and only took away from his legacy. That's a conversation for another time.
Oh, no,
and,
that's coming up then, too. Slow your roll, sunshine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But to that point, yes, absolutely. The Undertaker majorly was one of my favorites. Probably he was my favorite for a long time. Again, my reference timeline before, I really became a diehard pro wrestling fan probably around 2007. And at that time, I was a SmackDown guy. You know, me and my best friend every Friday, we'd walk home from school. We'd go at his place. We'd play with the wrestling figures, and we would throw on SmackDown and watch The Undertaker, Edge, Batista. You know, that era of SmackDown was really where I kind of cut my teeth as a fan. So for sure, Taker definitely has major influence on me.
And I do a question down the line of who I think you are, and I'm naming these guys because they're not on my list.
Okay.
When did you find Bruiser Brody, though? Because he's also very much a part of you.
Oh, yeah. No, listen, no doubt about that. I really first found Brody probably mid 2010s, probably like 2014, 2015 when I really first started watching Brody. Because up until that point, I knew the name from, you'd hear about, unfortunately, the way that most people are introduced to him. You heard about the murder.
Yep.
And so that was kind of my first introduction. I didn't really start watching his work until, probably mid 2010s, probably 2015, 2016. I really kind of delved into his work in All Japan and New Japan and found out, like, goddamn, this guy, this is what I want to be. Just, especially when you watch his stuff from All Japan. There's a lot of things I enjoy.
Some of the greatest stuff out there that people still have missed out on. So, yes, I agree.
It's incredible. I mean, and you talked about an aura. I mean, there's nothing I love more than watching a clip of Brody enter through the crowd and then just start running at fans, and you see the Red Sea part where everyone just books it. Like, this guy was just, the closest you get to that is, Lance Archer a few years ago when he was in New Japan. He kind of tried to kind of emulate that feeling, but nothing is quite like that.
A little weaker.
Brody, and also the product of the times. At that time, there's probably people that legitimately were afraid for their lives of Brody. So it's a different feeling. But, I mean, Brody definitely another major influence on me. And, really in the last 10 years, I fell in love with Brody. And especially once I began wrestling, when I looked for ideas of how to, carry myself in the ring and positioning and just and how you literally stand alone. I mean, you'll look at Brody and I pick it apart.
Okay, yeah. All right, let's truck back to this Undertaker question real quick.
Sure.
Would you want to see him in one more match? Because
no.
Even as I
No.
agree with you, but hold on, holy moly! Because the way I feel he's gonna get one more because of the he came out on the motorcycle and all of that shit. Like that character of the Undertaker needs to put to bed too, and that's annoying.
I understand that.
I do too, but I don't want to see it. Right?
No, to me, again, I love The Undertaker. I respect Mark Calloway as a performer and as a creative. He did a lot of great stuff, but it's been a law to say it was the law of diminishing returns is kind of an understatement. To me, the last great match he had, I think, was CM Punk at WrestleMania 29, and that's a decade ago. And since then, it's just listen. He can do the hits, he can do the choke slam, he can do all that stuff, and that's great. But to see a match, to me, it's just I think back to WrestleMania 33 with Roman Reigns. I remember sitting there feeling embarrassed for him, and that's when he was still enough in the routine, which obviously he was already part-time significantly for a long time at that point. But now to have been on ice for whatever it's been, 3
8.
years, and
Yeah.
having come back and do another match, no, I think he hurt his long-term legacy enough with his output in the last whatever it's been since WrestleMania, 30 years, 9 years, that I don't want to see any more of that from a fan standpoint. And also, listen, man, you got nothing to prove. There's
He
nothing
doesn't.
left that you
Thank
have to
you.
do.
That's
Yeah.
what I wanted to hear the most. I really did. From a professional wrestler, been in the business, 4 or 5 years. I agree, because we're just the talkers. You
Yeah.
know what it. What else do you have to do, dude? We love
He's done
you.
everything.
We love
Exactly.
you. Just step away. A la Flair. Flair wants one more match. No, come on.
Ah,
Do not.
no.
Right. We
People,
love you too, but stop.
it's sad too, just because again, wrestling is it's one business that people don't like to learn from history. People like to repeat it because we like to think that it'll be different this time.
We
And
can
listen, I mean,
change history.
like it's yeah, exactly. People completely rewrite it when it's convenient for them. But to that point, it's like, I mean, people have been retiring and unretiring for as long as the sport has been a thing, so it's not new. But it's like, I mean, with the exception of like Terry Funk, I mean, how many people did that really work out for? Like, it doesn't work.
None.
Rick, and Rick is a liability from a health standpoint, which is my greatest fear there. Which, I mean, you watch that last match from last summer, and I mean, I don't know how you could watch that and not be afraid. So to me, that's an even Undertaker. It's a performance oriented fear. Rick, it's a health thing where I'm just like, this can't be a smart decision for anybody involved.
Agreed. All right, so we did all this little guy wrestling stuff. Growing up in schools and high schools and in college, because I'm pushing you there, I know a little bit about you. Very sports minded. You're D1 star, this, that, and the other. Talk about that and how it leads you to that aha moment that I'm going to wrestling school.
So despite my resume, I do not define myself as an athlete. I succeeded in spite of my athletic hindrances. I was obviously, I've always been a big guy. I always had some natural ability, but more than anything, I had a work ethic and I had a desire to succeed, and that has translated into wrestling for me. But in high school and at that level, I had 4.5 left feet, and it took me a while to work through that.
Okay.
But I worked because I had a desire to succeed at the game of football, and fortunately I had a lot of great people that helped me through that, and I did have good success, and it fortunately translated to scholarship opportunities. I went to play offensive line at the University of Delaware, had played for 5 seasons there. Again, FCS football, CAA, top conference in at that level of football. Again, quality stuff, great experiences. And I love football. I still coach it to this day. But with that said, I love football, but my passion has been wrestling for a long time, and to the point I made before. Stepping back to my grammar school days, that's how I spent all my free time. It was wrestling. It was watching and playing 2K. There wasn't even 2K. It was SmackDown versus Raw at the time, and going back and playing Shut Your Mouth, whatever it was. Like, that was how my life was consumed, and so I loved my time playing football. But even when I was away playing college ball, we'd be there for winter training or summer training, and we'd have workouts at 5 in the morning. I'd come back, go to class, and I'd come back from that, and what did I do? Well, let me throw on New Japan's last Dontaku pay-per-view, and let me watch
Nice.
through that and see Okada versus Katsuyori Shibata. Like, that's how I was spending my time, even when I was in the depths of college ball. Like, that was what I did. And so when my college football days were winding down, I knew that my time in the game was done, and I was very okay with that. And so I knew that, hey, I'm in physically great shape, both from a strength and just conditioning standpoint. And even though it's you have people who are trying to say otherwise, and some people have proved otherwise, I suppose, to an extent. There is a clock on wrestling where your body can only do this for so long, and so I realized, if I was ever going to truly commit to doing pro wrestling, it's now. It's now while I physically am at my peak, and while I know that I can do it. And so I finished playing ball in the fall of 2018 and 2019. I shed a couple pounds because I didn't want to be offensive line
That
looking
guy.
Zakk Ramses. I wanted to be a little leaner, a little more aesthetically pleasing. So I cleaned myself up a little bit, and then we dove right in because I knew that I love this. I love wrestling, and I knew that it was time to do it, and do it hard and do it fast and do it just like I did with football. Commit and find a way to succeed, because that's all I'm here for. I'm here to go as far and as great as I can in this sport.
That was going to be my next question. Did you ever pander away from wrestling when you were, making your trips for football? They're like, I'll miss, 6 to 8 weeks or 6 to 8 months because I'm going all over the place. You answered that and said, no. As soon as the game's over, I'm finding New Japan. That just tells it's in your blood. It's unbelievably in your blood. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's literally, death, taxes, and wrestling will be the story of my life one day when you look back at it. It's how I fill every open space.
So New York-based wrestling, essentially, right? I want to know where your home, and I put that in air quotes that you can't see, territory, and then about your training and everything like that. And really make sure you give a shout out to your trainers, because that's something I always push indie stars to do, because listen, without them busting your ass, Zakk, and I'm that asshole on this side, you're not here.
Oh yeah, listen, I am in complete agreement. In any line of work, I believe that whether it's if you're an accountant or if you're
a garbage man,
gymnast or anything in between, the guys that show you the rope, the guys or gals, whoever it may be, that show you the way to do it, and if you succeed at any level, you owe it to the people that broke you in to pay you respect, and I totally agree with that. So to your point, I trained at the New York Wrestling Connection in Deer Park, New York. It's a Long Island-based training facility here. The trainers there were Bull James, Rex Lawless, and Michael Mastretta. Bull James, formerly known as Bull Dempsey in NXT, when he was there in 2013 to 2016, and then Rex Lawless is a well-known name on the independent scene, especially in the Northeast area here. Mike Mostretta is he was also a product of NYWC, and he's one of the guys at the forefront of that promotion now, as far as
he's champion right now, isn't he?
Yep, absolutely. He is their heavyweight champion, and so those three were my trainers, and I thank all three of them in different capacities. For me, Rex was a great trainer in the sense that, very active on the independent scene, very much finger on the pulse as far as what's going on, and another big guy, and so he was very big on trying to teach me in areas where he felt that he made mistakes, where his biggest thing, and Bull in tandem as I get to him, but their thing was, as a big guy, you have to be big, because there's so many people in this business who, even if they are naturally taller or naturally bigger than people, they wrestle like everyone else. And all of a sudden, it's so hard to stand out in this business, and you're giving the thing that you naturally have that makes you stand out away so you can just perform like everyone else. What's the point?
Yep.
And so they pushed consistently throughout my training, be big, always be big. Find a way to show that you are bigger than everyone else and make it obvious. So Rex was very big on that. Bull, additionally, again, a big guy, not as tall as Rex or I, but definitely a big, beefy guy that was able to teach me in ring some tremendous stuff. But also, as far as someone who has, succeeded to the point of being signed by the WWE, he gave me lots of great advice in my early days, especially when I was navigating through a tryout with New Japan Pro Wrestling, a tryout with WWE. He gave me a lot of great advice as far as how to handle those situations from having been there, and also having spent time in DDT in Japan. He understood that and was able to give me invaluable thoughts and feedback. And then Michael, probably the guy who's not even probably, definitely the guy who worked with me the most in the ring. No one spent more time coming in early before training, staying late, watching back my film with me. He really, and I to this day, I text him, hey, what do you think of this or that? If I'm at a show and he's not on or whatever, and he'll give me feedback or thoughts. And just a tremendous ally and friend, but also, again, he knows his craft so well, and he's now one of the head trainers at NYWC on his own there, and he's a tremendous asset to Long Island professional wrestling. And I'm very thankful because he took a lot of time in the ring helping me figure out the transition from football to wrestling, which there's a lot of the cadence and nuance of football that you kind of have to throw away to get into wrestling because it's almost opposite in some respects, which sounds bizarre, but he helped me really figure a lot of that out. So all three of them I respect greatly and thank on multiple fronts as many times as I can.
You're kind of reading my notes through the phone because that was, and I know you've done a couple of these, and that's why we like having you on as masses. A couple other were on this week as well. I saw with you, but it's just getting your name out.
Yeah.
What was the most difficult thing at training for you? Because it probably wasn't the physicality. You spent 5 years beating the shit out of each other, yes, on the football field. Was it
correct?
And this is going to sound stupid, but was it because you're so big, the running of the ropes, or was it like psychology and everything?
For me, the toughest part really was, I'm going to say two things. Body positioning, first of all, where as an athlete, especially in football, you're told, more times than you can count, hey, chop your feet, keep your feet moving, low center of gravity, be an athletic base, knees bent, little forward lean, like all these things. It's ingrained in everything you do. At the University of Delaware, we have extended winter and summer training time, so you were there 330 days a year, just constantly hearing the same thing every single day. And then you go into wrestling, it's, hey, no small steps, big steps. Hey, no bending the knees, stand tall. Hey, don't bend over, make your chest big, make people realize your size. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, the stuff that I have been
2,000 days being burned into your head.
Yes, and to all of a sudden be like, all right, actually, no, never again. It's like, oh, okay. So that was physically the greatest challenge I had, which took a lot of decoding because I was like, oh, all right. And even when I knew it, I didn't do it because it's muscle memory.
Yep.
So that took some work. And then on the other side of it, and you've heard it a million times from every wrestler pretty much ever, I'm sure, but just the speed factor where, especially, again, coming from a true athletic base, you got to get off the ball fast. You got to run down the line fast. You got to, your first two steps in the ground, everything's about speed, especially in the game of football. Now it's not being told, hey, don't rush between moves. Hey, hit when you're selling, you gotta be sure you're slowly opening up and being sure everyone can see it. Like everything again is opposite in what you've been reinforced with for so long. And even though psychologically, from being a fan and as diehard a fan as I was, I understood the premise. It was hard to adapt to, as it is for most people, but even more so where I'm like, yeah, but like, don't I want to get back on them? Well, if it's a real fight, sure, you don't want to give them any breathing room. But if this is what professional wrestling is,
the showmanship of it,
if you're this big, strong guy, you should be able to hit one big move and soak it in and let him sell and let it just resonate with the crowd. And mentally I got it, but physically it just felt wrong. So those are two components that definitely took some time to work through.
So we pumped you up here a little bit, and we've told you, what you can do and how you are looking and how great you are, and you explained
And you're
everything.
right about all that.
Right? And I know I'm right about all that. I understand. But now you have to kind of rip yourself apart once.
Sure.
Give me a story about training. They're like, Zakk, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? You have one of those stories.
Please, of course. I mean, who doesn't? But
Right.
for me specifically, oh yeah. I mean, I remember I could not get the momentum of a flip bump, and that was one of my earliest fears in wrestling. Right? I actually remember that, as a quick sidebar before I get into my specific story. I remember watching again in college when I was getting in the mindset of making the jump into wrestling. We're watching a video of Bad Luck Fale from New Japan Pro Wrestling, doing some coaching at his dojo, and see him talking with his students there, and showing them how to do a flip bump. And I was like, holy shit! Like, Fale's a big dude. Like,
Yeah.
he did, like, in that time, like, I didn't recognize that everyone does a flip bump at some point. But in my head, I was like, well, big guys don't do that, so like I won't have to practice that, because in my head I'm like, can I flip like that? I don't know. It seemed that was obviously
it's unnatural, first and foremost.
Yeah, it's unnatural for a lot of people, but especially for someone as big as me. I was like, well, I was never someone who even did a flip off the diving board into the pool because it scared me. I was like, just flipping like on my feet and landing on my back. I'm like, well, he can do that, but like, I probably won't have to, right? And so, week 2 of training, when they're like, oh, we're gonna learn how to flip bump, I'm like, oh wait, I have to do that. So it took me a little while to, kind of get myself to that point. I remember, as you have to at some point, you got to get baptized by fire and just roll with the punches. And if you hit it perfectly, great. If you don't, ideally you have someone who can kind of help you through it. So I was running the old universal spot with Rex, and I came off the ropes to take a hip toss, which is just a flip bump, and I just went, but did not go, and landed right on top of my shoulder. And
Oh.
I remember just landing, being like, "This is horrible. Like, what am I doing?" And Rex is like, "Yeah, that wasn't it." I'm like, I can tell that." And for the next week, we would start every training with shoulder rolls and everything. I was like, I can't roll on my shoulder because my shoulder's 3 times its size right now, because I landed right on the bone and it was just bruised and awful. I worked through it anyway, as any good wrestler will. But to that point, I was like, this is just not what I was thinking this was going to be. This sucks. Like, I knew I loved wrestling as a fan. I knew I loved wrestling from the first time I tied up with someone. But that point, I was like, this is not right. I gotta figure this out, because otherwise I'm gonna kill myself here. Not even just by accident in the process.
No more flip bumps for this guy, Bull. No more flip bumps, please. We can't.
Yeah,
that's the main part of wrestling. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'll work on those.
Yeah.
I want to know about your first match, but before we get there, this is where I say, who is Zakk Ramses? Okay, who is, the bloody hand and all that I said. But hold your roll, because these are the 3 people that I have. I've brought up The Undertaker, I brought up Bruiser. Listen, yeah, they're in you, without a doubt. But as I watched a little bit more, I have James Mitchell, I have Kevin Thorne, and get ready, because they're both, the bad guys, essentially, the Satanist or whatever you want to say like this. This one's going to shock everybody. Big John Studd. I see a lot of Big John Studd in you because of how Bull has told you, I think, and I've just got this story right now, how he has told you to slow down and make it like just hit and then roam around.
Yep. So I love all 3 of those, because I definitely see where you get those. In full transparency, I wouldn't say I studied a lot of James Mitchell or Kevin Thorne. I definitely Yeah, with the aesthetic and all that, I totally see it. And again, Kevin Thorne has size as well in there,
Right.
totally.
And
Big
James is
John
because
Studd,
you talk well. Not that
yeah, and
Kevin
listen,
didn't, but listen,
yeah, no,
better. Yeah.
yeah. No, definitely, I appreciate that. And Big John Studd, he's not one of my go-to guys, but I definitely have watched his work before. And absolutely, I mean, listen, he's especially, I mean, you look at the big guys of the 80s specifically, and the 70s even. You watch like classic Andre in the 70s, like when he's in New Japan, stuff like that. That's really that form of big man wrestling. It doesn't exist anymore. In some ways, that's a negative. In some ways, that's a positive. Where I mean, Andre would literally put someone in a headlock for like 8 minutes.
Half an
And
hour.
he could,
Yeah.
yeah, and listen, and he could do that, but people did react. In this day and age, with the expectation that wrestling fans have, you can't pull that off anymore. But the concept behind what he did is very much applicable and definitely still can be done. But people just don't think it. I do agree that is there, and you see that with Big John Studd for sure.
Yeah.
But what makes me happy is that you did mention all three of those guys, because that they are not the same at all. And my goal with the creation of Zakk Ramses is just that, to be multi-layered and to have to not just be a one-note dude, because again, for some people that works, but to me, that's boring. And the last thing I ever want to be identified as in any walk of life, but especially in professional wrestling, is boring. I want to be able to give you something to hang your hat on, or to be intrigued by, whether that's my work, my character, my visual, something. Something's got to click. And listen, ideally all three do. But if all three don't hit for you, there's got to be something in there. And so the fact that all three of those guys you felt were pieces of me, in addition to Brody and Taker, I mean, listen, that's a compliment and a half, so I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Who are you give me your three then that you say, yeah. And then we really need to hear about your first match. And then we have to talk about random other stuff.
Yes.
And I don't mean random other stuff on your project, on my project.
Yeah.
Because you were getting to your project.
Of course. So my big three are, you named two of them already, but mine I would say are definitely Taker / Kane, depending upon what era we're talking about. Then Brody for sure, and then my third one, and especially kind of showing the progression of me as a fan. But what I say was, because that's the period that really influenced me more than now. But is Gunther now in WWE? Personally, watching him on the Indies in the late 2010s, from 2016, 17, 18, again, as I was finishing my college time, he was someone I watched. I'm like, holy shit, I want to do exactly what he's doing as far as in-ring work goes. Just like I still to this day love his style. I think he's tremendous. I love that he's getting the opportunities he is right now. The fact that he got to go out there in the Rumble and did what he did on Saturday was fantastic. Yeah. But I think his indie run in 2017, 2018 is one of my favorite work I've seen of a wrestler in my time as a fan, where, when he was going from, OTT to Evolve to Progress to WXW to other local American indies. Like, this guy was everywhere, and everywhere he went, he was booked as the monster that could not be stopped. He was champion everywhere. He had fantastic matches with everyone. Like, he was indie god, and it was incredible. And I loved everything I could. Anytime I'd see him around, I would watch him. Didn't matter what promotion it was, because I knew it was going to be excellent. What Culture Pro Wrestling had a fantastic match with Will Ospreay. His match with Jordan Devlin in OTT was one of my favorite matches of 2018. Again, the guy could do no wrong. And I still don't think he can do any wrong. I just think
no.
His presentation right now, in the last 6 months, there's been ebbs and flows where there's times where I'm like, him running away from Braun Strowman. I'm like, we should not be doing that. So it's why I don't view his current presentation as highly. I'm hoping that they're gonna fix some of the errors that they made with him. But in general, the point being here that he's someone that I absolutely highly respect as a performer and definitely take a lot of influence from.
Nice. I love that. I love everything you just said about him, and I agree. So yes. All right. First match jitters. Who do you have in the audience? What's going on that day? These are the stories that I like.
Yeah. So my technical first match doesn't really count. And I'll explain this briefly, where I really have two first matches where NYWC, what they do, as many training academies do that are training academies / promotions, is they run basically birthday party shows where you can come and you can book a party for your son or your brother or your uncle, whatever, and the members of the academy put on a show for you, and you can come and bring pizza and cake, whatever. So it's not a paid show, but it's a show in front of a live crowd that's there to see wrestling. So my technical first match was, I wasn't supposed to be on the show, but not enough people showed up. So I ended up being in a tag match it was myself and Joey Conway against Rex Lawless and Mouse. And so I had probably been training for about a month and a half at that point. So I was as green
Did you
as Larry
feel ready at all?
No.
Of course not. Okay. And I don't mean that mean, but yeah.
No, it's reality. I was petrified. I was excited as all hell. I was petrified
You're
because
a child.
all of a sudden
of course you were. Right?
Yeah. And I all of a sudden we were like, they were calling the match. I can't even say we because I was just kind of there. But I was like, what can I do? Like, what? Now that I'm here, like, what can I actually do in this old ring? And so, I really did like three things. It was a tag match. It was easy to cover me up where, tagged in, did a couple boots in the corner. I threw a back elbow, and I think I took a body slam. I really didn't do much. But technically, it was my first match in front of people. Now, my first match for a paid crowd was not much later. It probably was, if it wasn't the end of that month, maybe it was the beginning of the next month. So it wasn't too much later on, but it was myself against Irish, who is now goes by the title of Satanta Fury, again, another NYWC regular there. And so we had a singles match planned between the two of us. And it was a Sunday that the show was happening. So that Saturday, you had Irish wasn't even on a show. I forget what he was doing, but in the process, he messed up his knee. He was a mess, but he came in to wrestle anyway. And I still don't exactly know why, but they decided to keep the match on as is, which I respect the commitment to the advertisement. However, this is my first ever singles match. This is my first real match. And now this guy's like, yeah, I can barely walk. I'm like, this is a challenge for someone who's been doing this for a little bit. Nonetheless, someone like me who knows nothing. So it wasn't the greatest setting for a first match. But what was great about it was that it set me up to have to think outside the box, which that's wrestling 101. If you can't think outside the box, this business is not going to be kind to you. So from the jump, it was, all right, how do I put together a match with someone who has one leg when I really haven't done this that long? And so your question about jitters, oh yeah. Question about uncertainty, oh yeah. And ultimately what we ended up doing was his leg was so messed up that he really couldn't put together a shine. So I was like, all right, so here's what we're going to do. And pretty much we brawled out of the curtain, and I cut him off like 10 seconds later. We're brawling around ringside, and I kind of knock him around out there, roll him into the ring, and we go right into the heat. And I just started beating up on him, this and that. I have a couple of hopes in there. He blows a comeback, and then I finish him with a choke slam, and that was the finish. So it wasn't a crazy match, it wasn't like a long match, but it was unconventional, to say the least, for someone's first match where I didn't even have an entrance. I didn't have that opportunity to come out, take the initial crowd reaction, walk out, like settle in. It was just like, as soon as we go out, we're going. So it was interesting, but it was a lot of fun. And I was saying to someone the other day, but what I think is kind of most funny to me retrospectively is I have a scar on my left shoulder from that match, and to this day I don't know how it happened because that we did brawl at the beginning of the match, but it's not like we were using chairs or weapons or
The
anything.
barrier or anything?
I really don't know because at the end of the match, I had this cut and I clean it up, but the mark stayed, and so I have this small scar on my shoulder from my first match that it will stay with me emotionally for the rest of my life, but it will also stay physically. I guess somehow I just don't know how, but
Is it not on tape or is it not filmed out there that you can just rip it apart? If you don't want to watch it, send it to me. I would love to find out where you ripped your shoulder apart. This is crazy.
It's that's the thing. I think one of my buddies who was at the show, I think he filmed it on his phone, and then he tried to send it to me, but he had sent like 4 parts or something like that. So I'd have to go back and check.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, especially older phones. Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
All right, day off. All right, we're taking time off of wrestling. Let's learn more about you. Listen, we know your videos and stuff that's coming up as well. But what else makes you nerd out? What are some of your nerd out things? You still playing wrestling games?
I'm not as avid of a wrestling game fan as I once was. I really, as far as the wrestling games go,
they suck.
Probably fell off around 2K16 because 2K15 or 16, I forget which one of those was a disaster. One of them I didn't really enjoy. And then when I was in college, I didn't bring any of my systems with me because I have a younger brother who, when I went away to school, I had to leave at least some of the
damn younger brothers,
our basement set up. I couldn't completely leave him with nothing. So like I had roommates that had stuff, but like I'm not going to buy a 2K18 for my buddy's Xbox One that I'm never going to play. So I kind of fell off in that regard. But I'm definitely a nerd on a lot of fronts. I am a huge music guy. My favorite band of all time is Black Sabbath. I'm actually bummed because today Ozzy Osbourne just announced he's officially retiring from touring because he's so physically wrecked that he just cannot do it anymore, even though for the last 4 years he's been trying to get back on his feet. So,
dude, he's been touring for 79,000 years, though.
Yeah.
You have to give him his break. It's like the Ric Flair thing. Let him go.
Yeah. Listen, and you're right, where for the last 2 years he's been like, I've done like 7 surgeries, it's not working, and every time I send it to my buddies, I'm like, it's over. Like, stop telling yourself that it's not going to be that way. But he finally accepted today, which retrospectively I saw him on his last actual American tour now, back in 2018 in the fall. We saw him there, and I remember saying, like, I'm really glad we're seeing him on this because, like, who knows how often he's going to come around after this. And I was very glad that we did because that was the last time. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I love live events in general. But concerts are my go-to. I'm planning on going out to England in June to go to Download Festival at Donington Castle out there. It's a 4-day mega festival they have there. However many people it is. 400,000 people. They got Slipknot, Metallica, Ghost.
Damn.
So, yeah, that's. I love Ghost to death. They're dropping a new video tonight too. Actually, it looks like they're still trying to either build up the repress of the 7 Inches of Satanic Panic EP, or they're going to release some more new stuff depending on what source you listen to. So, point is, I love all that stuff. As my upcoming project would suggest, which we'll talk about in a sec here, I'm a big film guy. I love the cinema in general. In my time in college, I knew that when my football days were done, I was going to pursue wrestling. I also knew that I wanted to pursue film at some level. I studied film while I was at school. Stanley Kubrick is my favorite director of all time. I grew up a Star Wars nerd before the series became all muddled in Disney absurdity and oversaturation and all that shit. But that I love just sitting down and a well-structured story, well shot. I mean, if I could do anything, I'd be a pro wrestler by night, cinematographer by day, and I'd be the lead singer of a metal band on my
At
weekends.
noon.
That would be the perfect world.
Right?
Though unfortunately, the only piece of that that's technically unattainable is being a lead singer because I don't have the vocal chops. I long accepted that, but that's not going to work. But to the point, yeah, I love film, love music. I'm a big vinyl music collector. Anytime I get free money, it's going into buying albums and whatnot on wax, which is a very expensive hobby, but one I double down on in spite of that.
That's my son.
Before,
My son is building a vinyl collection
oh,
of everything and anything. Literally, he's like, I need this, I need this, I need this. He's 16, and he's like, oh, I agree. It sounds much, dude. I grew up with it. When I was younger, it was what mom and dad played my headphones to put my ass to sleep. Then we lost it, and I'm like, oh shit, mom and dad threw them all out, and I'm like, what are you doing? But I didn't. Yeah. And I told my son about it when he was growing up, right before it hit again. I'm like, man, vinyl is so. He's like, what the hell is vinyl? I showed him. I bought him a couple. Now he's 16. He doesn't want a car. He wants every vinyl out there. And I'm like, all right.
Yes.
So.
Oh, that's the pain where it's like, do I pay my car payment this month, or I could buy Roger Waters' Amused to Death, which if I buy the variant from the early '90s, that's gonna cost like $150. So maybe that's actually worth getting. It's like this is where my head is at. So I appreciate your son's discrepancy there too.
Loves all of it. So that's cool. That's you guys you hit it off.
Definitely.
All right, let's talk about your project because there is some more wrestling we want to talk about, some of the harder hitting topics as we get into them. But let's talk about your project because, listen, as recording, it comes out this Friday, but it was last week, so go back and watch it, idiots.
There we go.
I'm telling them idiots. You're not. You are pumping them up. Talk about what's coming up on YouTube and all that.
So, as of Friday, February 3rd, which is now your last Friday, our this Friday, but I am beginning the launch of the new YouTube miniseries entitled Miasma the Series, and the series is it's a 5-part story here that is it's a passion of mine that I've had. Again, I love film, and so I've had the desire to create a film in a lot of different capacities for a while. I have like 15 different scripts for different stories I'd like to shoot as time goes on here. But what makes this one special is that it's the ultimate combination of my love for film and professional wrestling, in the sense that this is Zakk Ramses' story in a way that I can't tell in a ring. And it's pretty much to put it without saying too much about the content. It explains where Zakk comes from, not in an origin story sense, but in regards to what the miasma is. Now, again, you asked that question at the beginning here, and that the answer I gave is how I've always defined the miasma. But the miasma is something greater than that. It's a role. It's a responsibility. There's more meaning behind it than even a definition, and that's explained through this series in conjunction with a lot of other ideas that have percolated in my head over the last couple of years as I've traversed through pro wrestling. But now I can really flesh out and expand in film. And so, if you look at my social media, I often will tweet, hashtag the quest of Erebus, or I'll reference the Grim Guild. And these ideas I'll reference here and there in my promos, but there's not much more to it than that to the unfamiliar ear. But this series explains Zakk Ramses is a member of the Grim Guild. The Grim Guild is basically a cult-like order that is hell-bent upon spreading the ideals and purpose of the Greek god of Erebus, which is the god of darkness. And Zakk Ramses is anointed the miasma, which is the man who's pretty much going to be at the forefront of the Grim Guild leading this pursuit, leading this quest for Erebus. And what that means for Zakk Ramses as an individual, what that means for Zakk Ramses as a professional wrestler, that's what we kind of explain here. So the long story short of it is, this series is going to make what you see in the ring of Zakk Ramses much more meaningful. There's going to be a greater purpose behind what I do, what I wear, what I say. Everything will kind of come together in a far more fascinating manner. And to me, it's exciting because this is a project that I've not seen someone do at the independent wrestling level before.
No,
The
not at all.
closest
This
no,
takes a
it's
set of
very
nuts,
different.
by the way, and I'm proud of
Yes.
you.
Listen, you don't get into this thing if you ain't a little crazy, or a lot crazy actually. But to that point, the closest relation I can, or rather, the closest comparison I can make would be to Matt Hardy's Broken Universe in 2016 in Impact, but that leans into comedy, while this is dramatic. But in the way that Matt created this world and this cast of characters at the Hardy compound and all that, and I don't, for those who have like dived into Matt's YouTube channel, especially when he left WWE and he was going to AEW, he was talking about the different entities that embodied his vessel and all that. He really dove into a lore that he created for the Matt Hardy universe of personas. And while that's not what I'm doing, it's the most closely relatable idea I've seen in wrestling as a whole. However, Matt Hardy, more people see it and more people are aware of it because Matt Hardy was doing it on national television. I've never seen something like this done at the independent level, which is part of why I wanted to get out there, because I want people to recognize that Zakk Ramses in the ring is special and different. Zakk Ramses out of the ring is special and different. You're not going to get someone like Zakk Ramses on either front, so you better get on board while you can here. And this project, I think, will push that to the forefront because I'm excited to do it because it's a quality product. You know, we worked really hard on this, and I think it's an intriguing story, but it's just it's something special. And so I won't say too much more about the actual details. I want people to jump on into it, but yeah, these 5 episodes, it's going to be a journey, and it's one that you'll definitely be glad you took.
Nice. 5 episodes every Friday, or you
Yes.
just throw? Okay, so the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, the 24th, and then whatever the hell the one in
the
is March.
Yep, it's February 3rd to March 3rd. So
Okay.
5 weeks straight.
Look at that.
Beginning, middle, end. So nice and easy.
Super excited about that. Where, and I don't want you to give the guts of the show away, but where was this recorded? How long did it take? How long was this? Is it still, or is it completed?
So the production process was it's a fascinating one where, as you're well aware, I am very active on the professional wrestling circuit here. You know, every weekend I'm somewhere, whether that's in Maine or Pittsburgh or West Virginia or North Carolina and anywhere in between. I'm always traveling. I'm always going. So when I wrote the script for this, it was last spring. And you know, we got pre-production and casting and all that, and we went full blown and did everything the right way. And so I realized, I'm like, all right, when the hell am I going to film this? Because I don't have any time.
Right.
So we filmed all 5 episodes, which cumulatively comes to about an hour, 20 minutes worth of content here. We filmed all of that in the course of 3 days. It was my one free weekend. I wasn't booked in July. We filmed Friday, Saturday, Sunday, locally on Long Island by me. We filmed in Nassau County, which is where Zakk Ramses is based. And we filmed it all, and it was it was not the most friendly, the most user-friendly environment. Fortunately, my cast and crew really understood the time constraints and worked with me, which I'm very grateful for, because anyone else would say, you're insane. This is really a 6 to 8 day shoot that you're compressing into 3 days. But you know, when you're booked in Baltimore the next week and you're booked in Pittsburgh the week before that, what are you gonna do? You gotta fit it in where you can. So we did, and you know, it was a lot of fun, and it was tight. You know, we really we had to grind, but
That sounds
you
like a
know,
final that you had to do. And listen, communication majors over here in Delaware. Hey, you have 3
Yeah.
days to go shoot a 18-minute story about how Subway makes something. What?
Yeah,
What are you
yeah.
talking about? Time
Yes.
starts now. Like you did that to
Yes.
yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything about this is on me. I can't be mad. I can't blame anyone. Completely self-imposed. Agreed. But I'm so glad we did. You know, and I'm really excited because you know a lot of really talented people took part in this production, from the people behind the camera to the actors and actresses that took parts in front of it. And I've said every time I talk about the series that it's carried by the story and the performances, where the core cast really came to play. And you know, I'm very proud of Zakk Ramses as a wrestler. But the story of Zakk Ramses, again, I have created this lore and this full story in my head as I've wrestled. To now kind of put that pen to paper and really broaden it into a cohesive and fleshed out concept. It's first of all fulfilling, but also I think it's very interesting to a wrestling fan and a non-wrestling fan, and that's what I think is an edge of this too, where you don't need to understand what Zakk does in the ring to understand this series. You can watch it and just kind of dive into it. And I will say that there's no wrestling in this. There's not like, hey, Zakk is, you know, trying to handle this situation here and has a match in between the episode. You will not see me wrestle here. It's everything outside of the ring. Because if you want to see me wrestle, you can come see me Saturday in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, as I defend the AOMPA Heavyweight Championship against T. Ranchula. Or you can see me next Saturday in Victory Pro Wrestling in Bayshore, New York, as I face a combination of 3 opponents in a fatal 4-way, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can see me wrestle every weekend, fortunately. But if you want the story of Zakk Ramses, that's what we're here for.
Yes, and buy a ticket, by the way, when you're going to these
Yeah.
wrestling events. That's otherwise. Ricky Morton says it depends on putting your asses in seats. All right, couple more questions about wrestling, and these are like the ones I really like to know. Then, 4 years in the business, so you're still kind of a baby, but you're veteran status a little bit around here and there. Wrestling changes. Wrestling changes a lot from good to bad. Like you even said, there's a roller coaster right now with Walter and Gunther and all of that. But I switch this up. There's stigmas out there still in wrestling. What can we just wave like the magic wand, your scepter or something, and say, dude, even Zakk Ramsey is a bad son of a bitch, doesn't like this in wrestling. We need it out because we don't need to, and I'm using carnies as bad. We don't need the carnies in this anymore.
Yep. No, listen. There's plenty of things that wrestling could do without. To me, I think the biggest thing in wrestling that I think would be a plus would be the elimination of the boys club mentality. And what I mean by that is every promotion has like, hey, like we'll work with you as long as you don't run with this dude, or oh, we're not going to talk to you because you
We're on Can Crushers.
Don't
throw anybody.
way.
Don't take money out of your pocket. So use me as
No,
a bad guy.
Yeah. No, I understand. But to me, people need to be able to put emotion and events aside, and so I think wrestling should be just that. It should be a meritocracy in the sense that, hey, I think you're talented. I think you can do. You can create a great story with this person. You can put together a great match with that person. Let's see if we can work together. I think there's just and again, this has been going on for as long as wrestling has been a thing. Where, hey, I don't like you because I don't like you. I don't like 18 other people. Yeah. And fortunately, I haven't been on the wrong side of that too much. But I've seen that, and that to me is sad because we're taking away from the fans. We're taking away from each other because there's people I would love to work with that. You work for that company, man? Oh, I wish I could, but I can't. It's like I think we're hurting ourselves, and that to me is a shame. So,
yep.
To me, I would take those borders down, which is a wrestling thing, but also that's a real world thing. I mean, we see it everywhere in our society now where we have a divided world on a lot of different fronts. And listen, understand that we're all people, and especially if we're linked together with something as tight knit as pro wrestling, how different are we?
Right.
You know, we all love this crazy sport. Let's put the little things aside and let's enjoy this thing together. Let's make something awesome.
We're all marks for the business, for ourselves, for each other, and money.
Oh yeah.
Let's not pull that aside. If you take on me, and I'm saying me, and we make $1 kajillion, well, the promoter made $2 kajillion because we did the match there. Hello.
Yeah. No, and listen, and that translates all the way up to the top. And obviously, it's been a point of conversation between WWE and AEW and New Japan for the last 4 years. And, fortunately, New Japan, after some management shifts, was able to put some of that bad blood aside, and it has benefited them tremendously being able to work with AEW. And, WWE, obviously they're still WWE and they still have their blockades. But, again, Shinsuke Nakamura working for Pro Wrestling Noah in January, something if you said that a year ago is blasphemous, but it happened. And Nakamura benefited tremendously, Muto benefited tremendously, and Noah did. And WWE got positive publicity from the fan base from it. So who does this hurt?
Nobody.
That's where I think we need to see more of that. And unfortunately, I think we are seeing that in certain circles, and I think that's awesome.
I do too. I agree. I like to know, you've named a ton of people, but who has given you the best advice behind, the curtain, and what was it? Besides, shut up and sit there and listen, because we get that one all the time. We know.
Yeah. Ooh, best advice I've gotten in wrestling. Oh boy. I'm going to say some of the better advice I've gotten would be if I'm naming one guy here, I'm going to reference Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn did he wrestled in NYWC back in the day. He came back early on in my time there, and he was inducted into the NYWC Hall of Fame, and he did a seminar for us that weekend, and he's reffed a match or whatever. And so he was around a lot that weekend, and being low man on the totem pole early on, I ended up being the guy that was driving him around, which I was happy to do because to that point, I got the opportunity to speak with him a lot more, which was a no-brainer.
Right.
But
Jerry freaking Lynn.
Yes, I mean, you'd be a fool not to want to drive with this guy. But he gave me so much great advice psychologically. And just as far as navigating the business went, I had a match that day, and literally as soon as I came out, he's like, "Hey, you got it filmed?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, let's watch it." We sat in the locker room and just watched the whole thing, and I got play-by-play notes from Jerry Lynn. I'm like, "All right, that's pretty great." So specific advice I got from him that stood out amongst all that was he really said he spoke to me a lot about confidence. I can't remember verbatim what he said to me, but it was a lot of the talk about how understanding who you are and embracing that and putting it out there, that's half the battle. And I try to wear that on my sleeve as Zakk Ramses here, where I believe in who I am as a wrestler. I believe in who I am as a creative. I believe I create a great product, both in the ring and out. And I won't be coy about that because I think I'm damn good. And I think I'm only going to continue to get better. And again, some people view that as, cocky or arrogant, and that's a negative. I think there's a line between negatively cocky and positively self-confident. And I define myself as self-confident, partially due to Jerry, where it's like, you know what, let people know. Because that's important, and it's earned off of repeated, consistent execution and hard work, and that's what I try to hang my hat on.
It's also marketing, public relations, minor. It's also a form of marketing too. If I tell you, you come up to me and say, I'm pretty good. Oh, well then, pretty good's going to bring me $5 if I book you. If you say, I'm the whole effing show, well, wait a minute. You're the whole effing show and you're going to bring me $150? Let's go.
Yep.
It's pimping yourself out, and I mean that nicely because, that was an old school wrestling term as well. Pimping yourself out and marketing. That's exactly what it is. It's not being brash or cocky.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Absolutely.
you. So, what else is up for 2023? What are some goals there? Where are you going to be? I know you just rattled some off. Johnstown. I have to make the trip down, by the way. I have family in Johnstown, so I'm
really?
a heathen. Yeah. You
There you
mentioned
go.
Pittsburgh. That's right down the road. Da-da-da-da-da. But yeah. What's your goals for 2023? Where are you going to be?
So 2023, my major goal for 2023 was to work internationally, whether that's Canada, if that's a trip over the lake to Europe in some capacity. That'd be the first more manageable step. My long-term goal, or my goal has that I've always had, was always go to Japan. That's always my dream. Again, as I said, my kind of, I don't know if I already said this, but the moment I really knew for sure that wrestling was that was going to be something I was going to do. It was after I really entrenched myself in New Japan and their history and seeing what they did. I was like, this is where I want to go there. I want to do that in that setting. And so that's always been my greatest dream, to go and wrestle consistently there. And so progression towards that goal is that's the be all end all. But on a smaller scale, because you have to have both large goals and small goals to accomplish anything. Again, a Canadian booking. I don't know that. I mean, I would go to Mexico. Zakk Ramses in Lucha Libre setting is definitely something that I would welcome. I don't see it happening right away, but regardless, that's something there. But even on a closer setting, as I referenced earlier, I am the AON Pennsylvania heavyweight champion for All or Nothing Pro Wrestling in Johnstown. I'd love to get more opportunities to push a brand and to be at the forefront of more companies here. Unfortunately, I've begun to receive more of those settings where I'm able to really thrive and show people that I can do a lot as someone that's a focused piece in your promotion. That's something I think is more attainable too. And ultimately, I want to keep getting around more and more. And fortunately, there's not many weekends I'm not booked. But on a weekend I'm booked once, let's do it 2 times. If I'm booked 2 times, let's do it 3. Wherever I've been, I want to do more. And I'll never be satisfied until I can have it all. And frankly, you never have it all, but the road to getting it all that's where I want to be. And so
I love that.
That's where I'm at.
That was perfectly said. You want it all. You never get it all because you want more.
Yep.
And it's just the road of you're happy. Let me ask you that. Are you happy? 4 years in, are you happy if, and I'm not ill will or anything, ends tonight, boom,
Yes.
Are you happy with what you've done in wrestling?
Yes. No, I've spoken about that with family and friends before, where if I never wrestled another match, if you asked me in January 2018 while I'm still in college, again, watching Kenny Omega and Okada wrestle, actually 2018, I guess it would have been Omega and Jericho at Wrestle Kingdom. If I'm watching that and someone says, hey, you're going to wrestle for at least 4 years and you're going to travel to 12 different states and compete in over 35 different companies, and you'll have wrestled former WWE stars and WCW stars and ECW stars and AEW stars. Would you be happy? Well, of course. Yeah. How couldn't I be? And again, that ambition I have, sometimes it leaves you empty because you want more and you're not satisfied. But I have to smack myself sometimes and tell myself, hey, you know what? You're doing this thing. You're out there. You're living the dream. And there's some people that never even get the opportunity to do what I'm doing. Some people never get the opportunity to step into a ring and to have a match. I've had a match. I've had more than one match. I've had more than 10 matches. I've had more than 100 matches. I've had a lot of opportunity to do something that I love, how I want to do it. I'm calling my own shots. I'm doing this thing my way. And how could I not be happy?
I'm happy for you. I really am. You've just given me chills.
I appreciate it.
All right, so the generic question that Manny Fernandez says this should change probably every 6 months, essentially, because it's you pushing, you wanting to do this, you wanting to do that. But, so as of right now, who's your dream opponent? Where? What stipulation? Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of bend the rules a little bit here. I'm gonna give you two answers.
This is your podcast now. All of a sudden,
Yeah, listen, man. If you weren't sure that was gonna come, and then throw your rules out and make my own.
Yeah,
I don't know what we're doing here. But so the reason I have two answers is, as a big man, there's two types of matches you really have. One is the big man, where it's Haas fight,
Yep.
and the other is the big man, smaller man, David Goliath. Completely different dynamics, really different types of matches. But so within those answers, I have. If I'm going big man, Haas, I revealed my hand earlier. I want Gunther again as a man, as someone who was so inspired by him right before I got into this thing. I'd love nothing more than to step into the ring with that man and just go to town and have a match like he had with Timothy Thatcher in Progress Chapter 62, I think it was, back in 2017 when Walter was Progress World Champion. Like that's something I think is just fantastic stuff. And venue, I'd rather it be small because I loved watching him in these tighter locations where.
Thank you for not saying Madison Square Garden or AT&T Superdome or anything. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
give it back to the bums.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, let me. Can I? What was the arena they did Collision Korea in for WCW? Can you go there? It's the biggest crowd in wrestling history, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I keep speaking about Progress because that was one spot that I saw a lot of him in. But like the Electric Ballroom that they perform in I don't know what place in England that is, but that's a spot that I think would be cool. Or even like a PWG type setting where it's just that'd be fantastic for a match with someone like him. Now, if I'm going with the bigger man, smaller man, David and Goliath type matchup here, I mean, I'd be lying to say anyone other than Kenny Omega. I mean, to me, Kenny Omega actually. Kenny Omega or Kazuchika Okada, you can see where my love for that the late 2010s New Japan continues to show through here. But those two, but if I'm picking one, I'm picking Omega, especially off the heels of his match with Will Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom this year. I mean, goddamn, that match was incredible. But
unbelievable. That if that isn't match of the year, like already, that I don't know how people can say, well, maybe down the line. There's not going to be down the line.
Nope.
This was it. Boom, January. Give all the awards away.
Yeah, let's skip ahead here. But totally, it was incredible. And that's Will Ospreay, but that's Omega. Yeah, and so to me, I think athletically, physically, his selling ability. Obviously, it's all known that that's top tier, and I can only imagine the opportunity to step into a ring with him and have the time to tell a story like that. Because, especially for someone like Omega, I can't really think of many matches where he faced somebody of my size. I mean, again, I can't even think if he had a singles with Fale or Archer when he was in New Japan. I don't think he had singles with Archer in his time in AEW thus far.
Definitely not in AEW.
Brody. Yeah, so to that point, I can't think of a big man match with Omega in recent memory, at least. So I think it'd be a different type of match with as far as what he's done of late. And to me, again, I mean, I'm guaranteed to have the time of my life wrestling a guy like that. And he'd make me look like an absolute megastar bumping around off of my butterfly suplexes and Beals and
in your forward rolls.
Yeah, well, maybe not
see how that comes back around? To bite you in the ass.
Damn it. But yes, that's my cheating way to answer that question.
That's all right. All right, give everybody your social, sell some merch, and then like you said, I know Johnstown. What else is coming up? You are freaking fantastic on social media. So first and foremost, follow him on social media because you'll know where he's at. It's not like guessing like some of the other people that have been on the show.
To me, it's a disrespect to yourself, a disrespect to your opponents, a disrespect to the show, not to let people know. How am I supposed to expect you to care about what I'm doing if I don't care enough to tell you deliberately, hey, This is where I'm going. This is this is who I'm wrestling. This is why I'm wrestling. You got to know. So to that point, you can follow me on social media, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm on them all. Twitter and Instagram, it's just Zakk Ramses. Facebook, it's the Miasma Zakk Ramses. TikTok's also just Zakk Ramses. YouTube is the Miasma Citadel. That's the name of the channel. If you type in Zakk Ramses, you'll find it. It's my face still, so you can't miss me. That is also where Miasma series will be streaming. Again, that starts this Friday, February 3rd. Episode 1 launches at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and will follow suit for the next 4 episodes at same times, same day of the week, every Friday. That's on the Miasma Citadel channel. As far as where you can find me, this Saturday, like I said, I'll be defending my championship in Johnstown for AON against WCW wrestler T. Ranchula. And then I will be in Bayshore, New York on Long Island for Victory Pro Wrestling the following Saturday, February 11th, in a 4-way with Absolute Alvin Alvarez, Travis Jacobs, and Percy Ryan. I haven't wrestled him. He's the only guy in the match. I do not know. Yes, the jawline Percy Ryan. So I'll be working those 3 there. Then I am on Friday, February 24th. I am in Deer Park, New York. Actually, it's the building of NYWC, as I referenced earlier, but it is for the company Remarkable Wrestling, where I will be in their Royal Rumble match, trying to make my debut there and make a statement. And so that'll be a good time that Friday. And then that following day on Saturday, I will be making my debut in another new company, which I cannot say when or where yet because I am not allowed to make that announcement yet. So point is, you definitely, if you want to know, you better follow me on social media to find out when it comes out. So there you go.
Easy. It's that freaking easy.
It really is.
Can you tell me when Johnstown's going to be in March? You don't know that yet, do you?
They're not running in March. They run again on April 1st. So the day after.
All right. Deal with that.
Yes.
That's got to be in my... I have to go see my family on April 1st.
Great.
Maybe I'll see wrestling that day, too. Maybe. We'll see. Zakk, this has been a blast. It really has.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to watch or rewatch, depending on when you're listening to this, the first episode and then everything going forward. Guys, it doesn't need to be about wrestling, but we can all spin it to make it about wrestling, to find out the character, the man, the myth, the legend about Zakk. So, yeah, I'm excited about this, but I'm excited to actually meet you, see you in and around our travels. Because we run the same area. We really do.
All the more reason to make it happen.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Have a great night.
You too, man. Pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Miasma, Zakk Ramses. Now you at least know what the Miasma is. The Doombringer, the Bloody Hand. And if you have not stumbled on it on YouTube, get your ass back there. Let's blow up this series, the Miasma series on YouTube. You heard the socials and all of that. Plus, we're going to have it down at the bottom so you guys can know. You can click right there. But all of that, because listen, Mark's doing the recap right after, as he always does. Support this. This is cool. I'm excited to watch. I'm excited to just follow this along. And yeah, I'm really excited to run the same path as, Zakk does and meet him down the line. So this is going to happen. We're going to see a picture of me and Zakk, Zakk 6'13" and a half and me 5'9". It's paling in nothing. But overall, what a great interview. Really, really watching some of his stuff, just glancing at it. I told you guys in the interview, saw Brody and the Undertaker right off the bat, and I knew he was going to say I really went to him. But I wanted to throw those other ones in there, James Mitchell, Kevin Thorne, and I loved how he said, yeah, Big John Studd makes sense because you go back, he was big, he was methodical, you had to, really sell those moves, and you see that in everything Zakk does. So, yeah, support him, love him. I know he's a bad guy, but come on, it's independent wrestling. We love independent wrestling here on Can Crushers. Guys, go follow him, and hopefully we get Zakk against Kenny Omega. How awesome would that be? Or Zakk against Gunther. Yeah. He's got it. He's got it. University of Delaware, communications. Hey, University of Pitt, communications too. Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot. Make sure you tell your loved ones you love them, because you never know.